Hey guys, welcome to the Shenanigans with Shreya podcast. We are at the end of the year, the time of recording this, where the days are getting way shorter. It's almost Christmas time, almost New Year, and it feels like the whole world is going into some sort of hibernation at the minute. So I wanted to talk about the winter solstice, which is the darkest day of the year as the days keep getting shorter and shorter. And also because the winter solstice brings with it a lot of ancient cultural celebration, but it also ties in with the winter blues that might happen, that people might experience, which can more seriously be referred to as the seasonal affective disorder that happens with decreased amount of sunlight present. And today we're essentially going to just explore the science behind the darkness, how it impacts our brains, and practical ways to combat the seasonal darkness that we get during the long winter months. But first, we have our neuroscience fact of the day. So today's neuroscience fact of the day comes to us from the Toro University in Nevada, where researchers have discovered that there are tiny particles in the blood, which are called extracellular vesicles, that play a major role in how a group of hormones are shuttled throughout the body. We have loads of different hormones in the human body, and the researchers here focused on a very specific precursor, which means the form that's before the actual hormone, called POMC, which transforms into a range of hormones like endorphins, which you get when you exercise, and adrenocorticotropic hormone as well, which basically manages the body's stress response. So the researchers in the study were able to find that vigorous exercise can cause 4 times more of this POMC hormone precursor to actually latch on to the extracellular vesicles in the bloodstream. And when this precursor is able to attach onto an extracellular vesicle, it's much more likely that that hormone will cross biological barriers like the blood-brain barrier more efficiently. The blood-brain barrier is always very difficult for things to get through because it's such a strict barrier, because the brain is greatly protected in our body. This study is trying to highlight that there's a potential pathway for hormonal influences to happen on the brain in terms of like stress responses, where you could try to attach a precursor hormone onto an extracellular vesicle just by exercising and try to get that hormone into the brain. So this kind of hormone transport system could inform new strategies that are being made for treating pain, for treating metabolic disorders, stress-related conditions, and for designing drugs overall that better reach the brain. But I just think it's really cool that, you are able to increase your extracellular vesicle activity, increase your hormonal precursor activity simply by vigorously exercising, which is, again, why exercise is so good for you guys. There is a clear link between movement and mental health. And in a way, exercising is relevant to trying to combat the winter darkness, because being active and being fit does help combat mental health issues that might arise with prolonged periods of darkness. Anyways, moving on, we're going to talk about the winter solstice. Scientifically, the solstice is the exact moment when one of the Earth's poles has its maximum tilt away from the sun. So for the northern hemisphere, for us, this means that the shortest period of daylight and the longest night of the year usually falls around this 21st of December. And culturally, it has always been this moment of profound significance. So instead of fearing the darkness, instead of running away from it, a lot of ancient cultures saw the solstice as a powerful turning point and a reminder that the light will return. A lot of celebrations of rebirth happen around the winter solstice. From Stonehenge in England to the Incan Inti Raymi festival, people built monuments and held rituals to honor the sun's rebirth and to encourage its return back to the world. And traditionally, the winter solstice is a quiet time. It's a time to slow down, to rest, to move inwards, to reflect. And it is essentially this period of hibernation and stillness before energy starts to build up again in the spring. So I do think it's nice to kind of lean into that towards the end of the year, because I don't think it's feasible for everyone to be going 100% full steam ahead all the time. You need to take some time out for yourself. So the solstice is really just the moment of maximum darkness for us, which will signal the start of the light coming back to us, essentially, because after the winter solstice, all the days start getting ever so slightly longer and longer till mid-June. So yeah, the gradual decrease in daylight hours can lead to a condition called seasonal affective disorder, which is a form of depression that occurs quite seasonally, typically starting around like late autumn or early winter. Now, the primary cause of seasonal affective disorder is thought to be the reduction in sunlight, which essentially disrupts pretty critical biological functions. So the first one being melatonin production, because when you have reduced light exposure in the winter, when there's not as much sunlight anymore, that will cause an overproduction of melatonin because darkness initiates production of melatonin. And because we have so much darkness in the winter, your body is overproducing melatonin. And that hormone, melatonin, is essentially used to regulate sleep. So if you're in a period of prolonged darkness, you tend to feel more lethargic, you sleep a lot, and your energy levels tend to be a bit lower than what they would be otherwise. There's also a disruption of serotonin levels when you don't have enough sunlight, because sunlight does help maintain the brain's supply of serotonin. Serotonin does regulate our mood quite a bit. So when light decreases, serotonin levels are going to drop, and that can lead to depressive symptoms. Now, usually it is recommended and suggested that you stay more aware of your own behavioral patterns and moods around this time, because some symptoms might arise which would indicate that there's some sort of seasonal affective disorder situation happening. If you have persistent low mood or sadness, there's a loss of interest in the usual activities, if there's increased appetite, oversleeping a lot, so hypersomnia, and then feeling like a weight is dragging you down. The good thing is, though, that a lot of these symptoms are quite manageable, they're quite treatable. You can obviously have medical care in this situation if it's an extreme situation, but you can also have a proactive lifestyle that can help you minimize the impact that the darkness is going to have on your life. There's loads of different ways that we can combat the darkness. The first one is called light therapy. So this essentially means sitting near a light box that you can get online. It emits this bright, massive spectrum of light. And if you sit in front of this for like 20 to 30 minutes each morning, this artificial sunlight is going to help you regulate your melatonin, regulate your serotonin, and trick your brain into thinking that it's actually getting more daylight. Just tying in with the neuroscientific fact of the day that we had earlier, exercising is really important, specifically in the colder months, because it can maximize your exposure to the sunlight that might be available outside and stimulate the production of mood regulating hormones like noradrenaline and dopamine. Even a 15-minute walk outside, keeping consistent with it, trying to get yourself out of the house so that you're not cooped up inside and that you're able to have some sort of movement in your body. Now, the tendency to oversleep is really strong in these months, but there is a recommendation to keep a regular sleep schedule. So if you try to go to bed and wake up at the same time every day, to keep your circadian rhythm stable, because a lot of health issues can happen when that circadian rhythm is out of balance. And also when you do wake up in the morning, it's really important to maximize as much light as you possibly can. So first thing in the morning, just open your curtains immediately, have the light, even if it's cloudy, have the natural light come in. So cognitive behavioral therapy has also been shown to be quite effective in managing seasonal affective disorder symptoms by just essentially helping you challenge the negative thoughts that are associated with winter. And it's also important to prioritize social interaction, especially during this time, because I know myself that the urge to just stay in your room for days on end is really, really powerful and really strong, especially when it's really cold and you don't really want to step out, because why would you? But connecting with other people, even if it's literally just a friend or two, or even going out and getting yourself a pastry, something as simple. It could take 2 minutes, like the shop around the corner, but it does provide this mental stimulation of something new and supports you during the time when it can be a bit tough to get yourself out of the house. And finally, I think it's nice to adopt the ancient perspective and see the solstice as the darkest time of the year for intentional resting and reflection. And you can plan a little ritual if you want, like lighting a candle or sharing a meal with your loved ones and kind of being more grounded and present around this time to honor the gradual return of the sun that'll happen. I recently came across this fun thing that you can do during the winter solstice. You write down 12 wishes that you have for the new year, and you can start this around the 21st, 22nd of December, or actually whenever really. It doesn't have to be specifically just during the solstice. Whenever you feel like you would like to start anew, it could be during the new year, it could be afterwards. But the idea is that you write down 12 wishes on separate pieces of paper and you fold them up so you don't really know which wish is which. And every day for 12 days straight, you pick up one of your folded up notes with a singular wish on it, and you either rip it up or burn it up and let it go out of the system. Let the universe handle it. Keep doing that every day, like keep getting rid of each wish until you reach your last one. And that's going to be your intention or theme of the year, of whatever period of time you want this to be. And I just think it's really nice because it's like you're putting your wishes out there. You'll be able to lock in focus on a particular thing. For me, I actually realized while I was listening to this reel that I came across that the podcast that I'm literally recording right now actually came from me doing a very similar thing where I wrote down a list of things that I'm interested in and I've kind of always wanted to check out from my own life experience. And I did it on a random wheel generator last year, like around New Year's time. And yeah, the podcast came up. So I felt like, okay, I'm going to do it this year. I'm going to do it in the new year. Gonna release a podcast. So yeah, here we are. I just think it's really fun to keep these projects in your life and enjoy just doing whatever you want to do, because at the end of the day it is your life, you know. So yeah, thank you so much for listening, guys. Until next time, and yeah, take care of yourselves in the dark winter months. You got this. Bye.